get to the west side. I mean, if you're east side, you're east side, or west side, or west side, or same thing, including whatever else. Are you doing anything to possibly those meetings which can be held in the suburbs? Now, quite frankly, I stand here, a lot of the individuals that indicated they had gone to the Police Academy, we've done a lot of networking on the east side. This builds a foundation, a relationship, a friendship to grow the community. So going back to, you have 9, you do the Milo, you do the property room. There are certain ones which have to be done at the academy. But what about holding some of these where it's more convenient to and possibly be more of a draw to the individuals in the neighborhoods?
Certainly, that has come up in the past, and we'll continue to look at it. We'll write that down as a recommendation and see whether or not there are some of those things. And even if it's not the entire Citizen Police Academy, we do offer the ABCs of policing and various other public speaking opportunities to people that we can bring to you. And a lot of our outreach is out in the community, not at our place. And that's why we're actually here tonight, so that we didn't have to ask people to come to the a police facility to have these conversations. So.
Yeah, we have ABCs and a lot of the outreach programs out in the police, but not the complete.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll write that one down.
How you doing? My name is Dwight Patrick, and I just want to know what happened to the PAL?
Holly,
Will you ever start that back up?
I
So we
don't.
work in the 70s.
We'll look at it again, certainly. I mean, we're listening, so we'll look at it again. We've had DARE, we've had POW, and for various reasons, it didn't work out as well as we had hoped on both of those issues. We had some staffing problems with regard to those in the past as well. So we'll continue to look at whether or not that's a viable option. But we haven't had any plans or discussion on that recently, but we'll put that down as a recommendation to look at. Thank you.
Chief, let me first of all commend you and Dr. Dobley and all of the members of the Columbus Police Department. Glad to see Brother Pfeiffer as well. I want to piggyback though on what Brother Patrick just said about PAL. Let me ask a question relative to the civilian component of the training that so many in this room raised their hands, they have participated in. What is the age limit on that? Is there a certain entry age that exists, or is it open to any citizen?
You get into the police colleague or?
No, to the, what did you
Oh,
call
the
it?
Citizen Police Academy.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, Citizen Police
I think you have to be at least 18 years old because we ask people to go on a ride-along,
Okay.
and you have to be 18 to go on a ride-along.
Very good. My concern around that was that perhaps that is a way to get to our younger citizens where I think the preponderance of issues are. Brother Patrick is actually right in saying that in the 60s and 70s, PAL, I'm from New York City, we had a very strong PAL organization in our precinct 101. I still remember the precinct number 101. And it was because of that. I think if there's a way we can engage our younger people, where they really begin to see what our brother raised about the issues of crime in our community that seems not to be addressed is real. Response time is real. Those issues, whether, and we all know that a person's perception is their reality. And they then voice that, and that becomes the reality for a community. But if there are ways to engage and to be involved and involved with people, then that might indeed help. So I hope you will consider letting people know about the Civilian Police Academy. I had not heard of it. I think it's a great idea. And I would love to see, no criticism intended, more of our people, more African Americans involved in that. I think that's very important as well. So I think those are just some things that might be considered.
Right. There's information in the back about the Citizen Police Academy. In addition to that, the ride-alongs, A few of the youth initiatives that we are doing is we have a youth camp coming up. The Parks and Recreation Department offers summer youth camps. And last year we started with 2 summer youth camps, public safety exploration camps. 5 days, they get to come to the police academy and the fire academy for that week and kind of explore what's going on with public safety. Those are signed up through the Parks and Recreation Department. In addition to that, we have the Police Explorers program that our officers volunteer their time to lead. And we welcome anybody that wants to join that group of people that are exploring, you know, a lot of different things, and they get to do some police-related activities. We also are dealing with a couple of high schools with, it's called Teens and Police Action, and it's a program that came from Houston PD, and we are dealing with some youths that have already gotten into a little bit of issues in their school, and we've got mentors that come in and work with these youth in the high school, so they don't have to go anywhere. They come in and they deal with them, and they've got a couple of graduations coming up here this week, and we're real proud of that relationship. We've got a number of things going on with youth that I'm very proud of, that we're working with. The Citizen Police Academy is another vehicle to do that. There is information on the back table about all of the different outreach programs that we have, and I urge you to look at it. There's one that's just a list, and then there's another one that's an actual explanation of all of those different programs that we have on outreach.
You know, Pat, I just want to say this before we get on the comment. When I took on the assignment, my nephew got me working out at the YMCA. He said, well, Uncle, you got to go out and work out. When I was telling young men over there about the program, they would say, how come the police don't come to the YMCA? And we didn't talk to us and this sort of thing. And I thought that'd be a nice venue to even go to the Y and work out with them, this sort of thing, and sweat with them. Also, we have a program called Fishing with Dads every year. Last year, we had 700 kids out there at Franklin Park fishing. Boy, I can think of more impression with me if you showing a kid how to put a woman on a hook. I get more time showing the fathers how to do it than the kids. So I'm saying, the people, I'm just curious, how many people like to fish? See, God don't come with time against you when you fish. Take that now. Take care of your kids. No, you got to go. Oh, what? Oh, golfing, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Moderators, you got one.
Yeah, my name is Thomas Barnes. I live on Mayfair Boulevard, and I have reason to have fear saying that because I've been harassed by policemen over there so much. The way we park, our parking spaces is in the back, and we go through our back door. And it's police that come there and sit, and then when people coming home, they have swooped down on me several times. I can't say a couple because it's more than a couple. And they just come, where you going? What's your name? You know, and just aggressive, just very aggressive. And I've had a deep fear because I'm a pool shooter. And I have a pool case, and I pull my case out my car every night when I'm going in. And I said, wow, they can say I got a weapon, and I've had a deep fear, but they sit back there and they swoop down, and even when it ain't me, I watch them do it to other people, and they ask me, can they search me? Search me for what? I haven't done anything, I haven't. And the other people who don't know the law, I've seen them, me and her, and we don't even live together, have seen them just stopped. And the last time it was all females, and they stopped these females, they hadn't did nothing, and they just bullied them, and then they searched the car, had the lady standing outside in the car. But I would like to say this too, and it's been so bad that I've had to lay the law down to her because she's went through the same thing with me, and I told her that she had to call me before she pulled up because the cops have pulled up on her and harassed her, and I've had to go out and get her. Yes, I have another question. 4 days out of the week when I watch, when I turn on the news, and I'm up 4 o'clock every morning, when I turn on the news, somebody has been shot in one of these neighborhoods. And it is mind-boggling to me that we don't have billboards advocating advocating against gun violence. And that's mind-boggling to me for one thing, because if they say rap music get into subliminal part of the mind, them billboards are getting the subliminal part of the mind too. And the last thing is, most of these people walking around with these guns illegally and using them is on the lowest economic scale in this society. And I am positive that if Columbus had a gun buyback program, them people will be selling a lot of them guns to be, y'all wind up getting them back.
So I guess one of the first question is, why would an officer, pull up and your perception is to harass someone getting out of the car, going into the apartment building, and then also the second one is in regards to the gun violence, and or is the police department doing this in regards to gun violence, possibly a gun buyback?
First issue on the feeling you've been harassed. I don't know your particular area and the amount of crime that's going on in that particular area, but I would ask that you talk to Commander Springer, who can direct you to somebody that can address what's going on in your neighborhood, see what they might be trying to figure out is going on, and why they might need to stop people. If there's a crack house or something like that in the neighborhood that they are trying to address, and they watch crack houses and try to see who's using who's pulling on the front of it and going on and all that kind of stuff. So some of the ways that we fight crime is to follow up on suspicious activity, and they might have thought that you looked that pattern, I don't know, or you might just live near something that's going on. I don't know, so I'd like you to talk to Commander Springer, who can at least point you in the right direction to get some crime information that might address that. And if it's his officers that are pulling you over all the time, that's the guy to take care of it. But if you are dissatisfied with the way that they've treated you, then we also have our complaint system that's available to you every time. When was the last time that happened? Was it recent?
It was about a month and a half ago when we seen them, not us, but when we seen them stop the ladies and have them get out of the car and search them. And then they just let them go.
We have an internal affairs bureau that investigates all citizen complaints, which is also best practice. It's not investigated by the sergeants on the street that work with those officers. If your complaint happens, we ask that you call within 60 days of the incident. That's the time limit that we have to investigate things that aren't of a criminal nature. So something bad happens to you with what an officer did, then call our internal affairs bureau, 645-4880 is the complaint number. There's pamphlets in the back that have all that information for you about how to file a complaint, and they can explain whatever's going on and take their complaint from you, and we can investigate that, find out what the circumstances of all of those incidents are. Officers have to document when they're doing any type of enforcement activity or even pulling over somebody. So that should be something that they can follow up on, and then get the information from you, and then ask the officers what they were doing as well. So remember that I don't want you to suffer in silence. If you've got a question about behavior, call and let's get it checked out, because generally there's always an explanation. As I said, when I answered the phone for 4 years almost, once I got the information, I was able to feed it back to people that get it. So please don't suffer in silence. Gun violence. Yes, indeed. The number of shootings that happen is high, obviously. You're hearing about them on the news. We average about 700 or so shooting calls a year. They don't all turn out to be shootings. Sometimes they're accidental, things like that. But it's still too many. That means at least twice a day we're responding on a shooting type of call. We have another 6,000 plus calls that involve people with a gun, and another 5,000 or so calls of people with a knife. So yes, there's a lot of violence that goes on. However, I can tell you that for the last 10 years, the crimes of violence have been going down in the city of Columbus, which is a good thing. But it's still, one is too many. As far as billboards, that's not something that's within our budget, but I did recently hear that there is going to be a billboard that goes up in another part of the city that does talk about violence. And we did get cooperation from, I believe, Clear Channel for the New Year's Eve situation that we have with people that go out and celebrate with gunfire. And we've had a campaign going on for a number of years now to get everybody to just bang some pots and pans together. You know? That's a good way to celebrate. You don't need to shoot a gun. So get on here.
Well, thank you for doing this. My question is this. As a result of these meetings, will you do your report? Will that report be made public?
I'm sure it will be. Everything, I'm sorry.
I just want to know if you'll be able to read what you conclude.
Yes. If you don't know this already, in the state of Ohio, it is one of the most open public record states in the country. And so all of our personnel know that all of the things that we do, other than criminal investigations, like was referenced earlier, all of our other work is open to all of you for reading, reporting, whatever it might be. We are aware of that and we share that transparently. Generally, we have to ask for it because we don't know what you might be interested in knowing. So our public records unit office number is in the back, I believe, and on the contact sheet. And just call them or come into headquarters and ask them for such a copy. I anticipate that that will be shared in a bigger way as well because we're doing this publicly. So I imagine we'll try to share it with the media as well.
So will there be an announcement or some type
I'm sure that we will do our social media part, and City Hall might also do something as well when we're all done with it.
This form, the way in which you announce it and get the word out to the community. I've talked to a lot of people who don't know that these forms are going on. I can get via email from our Riverside Commission chair. Is there, have you looked at perhaps a more formal, aggressive getting more people out to these forms?
That's one of the things that I need to hear from you is how else can we advertise? We've got our social media on Facebook, on Twitter. We did a press release. It was in the Columbus Dispatch. It's been on the news, the TV news. So I need to know other ways.
Churches.
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 Certainly. Certainly.
Mosques.
The mayor has a council of interfaith, so we probably try to use them as well. We have a diversity recruiting council that we have also try to use.
Chief, also, we forgot to get one of his questions in regards to what your thoughts on the gun buyback program.
We'll write that down as a recommendation. There are a lot of issues with gun buyback programs, and it's one of the things that we haven't seen a lot of success in other cities because some of the people with money come in and park about a block away and advertise that they're willing to buy the guns, and it's for about $50 more than we're paying, and so the people go to that stop and first, and pretty soon there's more guns on the road.
Something I haven't heard yet, Chief, is appreciation of the group of the excellent work that I personally feel the Columbus Police and Fire Department do. I've had association with several of the officers, like Officer Napoleon here, and we now have Officer Keckley with us. We did have Officer Preston. I know several of the helicopter pilots, Lieutenant Poulos and Patrolman Remus, and I know the excellent job they do. My personal relationship with the police department has been nothing but accolades. I've been in the city of Columbus now for 60 years. I've seen a lot of change. The major change that disturbs me right now is I've had an application for a concealed carry permit up in one of the slots on my desk for about 5 years now. I think I made the decision about 222 times as to whether or not I'm going to fill it out and send it in. I don't want to carry a weapon, but I have seen the change in some kind of a mindset to where weapons are are almost a standard item when you're going to commit some kind of crime. And the irresponsible shooting, it just boggles the mind. And you can appreciate what a police officer has to go to when he goes on a call. I wouldn't be a bit surprised one of the first things he says, I wonder if he's got a weapon. And he probably unstraps his. And what's changed in this mindset where it just doesn't matter if you shoot anybody anymore? And how are you facing that?
Thank you for the compliment to our officers, and I appreciate your support. And I hope that someday everybody in the community can feel that same appreciation. That's what we're striving for. As far as the gun violence, as I said, violent crime is actually going down. But yes, indeed, there are a lot of guns on the street. Some carried legally and some carried illegally. And yes, indeed, officers have to be aware that anybody that they confront could be armed at any point in time. And yet there are constitutional rules in place that say that we can't just pat people down just because we want to, just because we feel like it. So we have to abide by the Constitution when we do approach people and our policies, of course. So there are some challenges that officers face, and they certainly face some dangers. And recently we've actually had a number of ambush attacks. So officers have that on their mind, as well as that trying to smile and be polite and kind to every other person that comes along, even though the last person that they dealt with might have been carrying a weapon or committing a crime with violence or something like that. So it's all about respect and making sure that we're doing our job the right way and treating people in such a way that they don't want to harm us, and doing that professionally. So, that's your decision on whether you carry or not. The state has said that that's legal, and now officers have to deal with that additional challenge when they approach people who might be carrying. And it is one of those things. But just be safe. Use the crime prevention tactics and techniques that are out there that we can talk about. Your CLOs train crime prevention all the time. And that's what they'll come to your block watch, they'll come to your civic association meeting and tell you how to prevent crime and be prepared for situations anytime.
Chief, I want to say that on relationship to that question, in Chicago, the local YMCA, they developed a program called Bridging the Divide. And there are questions that you can ask police officers. For example, they put them on the cards to read off. For example, what does the person give up? What does the police officer give up being a police officer? What are the privileges and disadvantages of being a police officer? Now, maybe it's not the forum for that, but I like to hear from them sometimes. And these are questions. I guess I'm going to ask the police officer, what is it? What did you give up being a police officer?
Well, let me, since I have the microphone, unless somebody else wants to speak. First of all, we're held to higher standard. We're working our 8-hour shift, but when we go home, people are aware that that's where the cop lives, and they're expecting them to live to a certain standard. And if they get involved in something off-duty, they're still going to come to me, and the potential for discipline is there even off-duty. So that's one of the things that they give up. They also give up weekends off. They give up first shift hours. Most of our officers work second and third shift. There's a lot of things. They might have Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, which might make it a little bit less attractive to people that are looking for jobs. But they give up a lot of they have far more scrutiny than practically any other work environment. They're on camera all the time. They're being scrutinized, second-guessed all the time. They're being responsible to you for everything that they do. So a lot of challenges that they do indeed give up, but they do it willingly. They know exactly what they're getting into when they sign up. I mean, we don't hide anything. Our recruiters tell them exactly what they're going to get into. I don't let anybody join us unless they've been on a ride-along. I say, you know what? If you haven't been on a ride-along with a Columbus police officer, you need to. When I go to orientation, when they still haven't started their first day, have you been on a ride-along with a Columbus police officer? Because we do it different in Columbus. It's not like on TV. We actually do reports after all of the action happens. We do reports and follow-ups. So there's a lot that they do give up, but it's willingly, voluntarily. They take an oath. They take an oath to uphold the Constitution. They take an oath to uphold the laws and the rules and the policies that we've put in place, which are far more extensive than most workplaces will ever have.
Good question.
Hi, I'm Diane Bunny. I'm in Officer Pohl's district here. And Sheena and Officer Scott do a wonderful job also. But Pohl's been working with the Independence High School kids and has done an amazing job working with those kids. We've also got Detective Larry Wilson doing a Bridging the Gap program there on March 11th. So if none of you have seen that, you need to come and visit the high school on March 11th and see Bridging the Gap, because that really does help the kids with the police department.
Thank you very much.
It's like a program they put on with the kids, showing them how to get pulled over and how to interact with the police when they get pulled over and stuff.
Oh, we're also doing ABCs of policing now. Our school resource officers are being trained on how to do the ABCs of policing so that they can do it in the schools. Dr. Good and I have come to an agreement that we need to do more about reaching out to children when they are still vulnerable and knowing more about how we act and how they can interact with us.
Good evening, Chief Jacobs. My name is James Ryder, and I am Board Chair for Columbus Area Integrated Health Services. We have convened a series of forums sort of like this in which your leadership team have been involved in the planning process. I want to commend you for your support of those community forums. We've had 3. We're going to have another one later on this week at Mifflin High School. Thank you for your work with us throughout some very difficult times that you've helped us engage in a good community dialogue. My question for you today is two-part. First and foremost, how far out from the city of Columbus can a Columbus police officer live? And secondly, how many of the 1,900 sworn officers actually live within the city of Columbus limits?
Thank you. We have a policy that was ruled to be not enforceable. The policy was that you had to live within Franklin County or a contiguous county. And that's where most everybody lives. Delaware County, Union, Lincoln County, Fairfield County, officers can live in those counties and Franklin County. But the Supreme Court of Ohio has said that we can't enforce our residency requirements. So that's not something that we have an option of. We can't violate what the Supreme Court has said. Another city was sued over that particular thing, and the ruling has come out. I believe that most of the officers do live within those particular counties or Franklin County, but I cannot give you a number because I don't have it. I don't know that we have a way. We have a database of people, but it's not necessarily who lives in Columbus. So I don't know. I do. I have my entire 34-year career, and I know a number of other officers that have lived in the city for a long time. There's another officer that lives in my neighborhood, in fact. But I do believe that the officers, regardless of where they live, have public safety in mind.
Yes, I'm Linda Henry, and I'm a second. And what I want to say is, I want to tell you how wonderful many police officers are. You have a great police force. They are respected by me and several other people. And I look at it this way: you treat these officers with respect, they're going to respect you back. Another thing is, I've done 2 times Citizens Police Academy graduate. And I say this: go to Citizens Police Academy. This is how you're going to learn what these officers go through every day. And this is all it's going to take to change the mind frame of a lot of people. When they start doing this, they're going to see what these officers do day in and day out and what they have to face. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate your support.
Good evening. My name is Felicia Saunders, and I am the president of the East Navy community. And unfortunately, I had a son that was murdered in this community 6 years ago. And I had to work with the detective department, pretty much solve my son's murder case. But in the process of us going to the court system, you guys do a wonderful job getting the person there. But when you're a mother and you're sitting in the courtroom and the judge says to the young man that comes in that killed your son. He had 6 gun charges prior to killing my son. He got another gun charge and a murder. And the judge says to this young man, you're a fine young man. Why don't you get out and do these 5 years, get in the community and do something better with yourself? That bothered me because you have a judge up there saying this, and he's supposed to do the right thing. And and if it wasn't for me writing letters, going down there, making noise, they would have let this boy off again, And unfortunately, my son could have been alive today if they would have not let this young man out 6 times with guns. So my question is how do you change the attitudes of these judges to help you guys do a better job?
I will tell you that judges are elected, and that means that if you have information, you can share that with your community members and your friends and neighbors and tell them of your experience and see if they want to not vote for that particular judge or any judge in particular. Our election process for judges is largely not party affiliated. You don't know what party they might belong to, but it doesn't matter as much as their track record, right? It matters about what they're doing, whether or not they're serving you in your best interest. And sometimes that takes like a court watch almost, of people that go down to the court and there have been volunteers that sit there and watch all day long to see how the judge treats people. And then that information can be available. But the Bar Association also keeps track of the ratings of judges. And that's one of the things that you have to get familiar with. But ask the Bar Association what they think of some of these judges as well, because they get scored on a regular basis by lawyers who are in the courtrooms on a regular, daily basis. So you can try to get educated in that way with the Bar Association or other means, but judges are held accountable through the election process. And, or if they commit some type of bad thing on the bench, then the Bar Association, I believe, would also be responsible for investigating that. The U.S. Supreme Court, the Ohio Supreme Court actually has a disciplinary part of them to investigate bad lawyering.
Good evening, Chief Jacobs, Mike Mason. I appreciate you coming out tonight, and this is something that's probably well overdue in the community, trying to bring the African American people together along with other officers and things, as well as the sheriff, state patrol, any police enforcement. I have 2 questions. What is, or is there a connection with Governor Kasich, who does not seem to have the best interests of the African community as far as coming to meetings when he's invited or sending a representative? I'm not sure if there's a connection with the police department of trying to get him to open his eyes up when we speak of trying to bring the gap together to where there's more unity in the community. It's an insult to the voters, first of all, whether Republican or Democrat. But to thrive to have this man, and I'm saying this man, and I'm not saying disrespectfully, but to honor us, the citizens of Ohio, not to represent the African American community more than what he has done, if he's done anything. There's been programs cut. I can't name off how many of them, or what type, but I do know in the paper there has been some budget decreases, but it's affected the black community. And I think this is hard for the African American community to accept, to where they want to try to do more, but they have no support. What is the initiative of him trying to make that better? Is there any dialogue between you and the governor or his staff or anything?
There is none, other than the people that work for the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's office oversees the state training for police officers. That's actually what it is called, the Ohio Police Officer Training Commission. So they work at the direction of the Attorney General's office, who of course works with the governor in mind. So they talk about police training, what's mandated for recruits, and again, if they're going to mandate any type of continuing professional training. Each year they tell us if they want us to do some type of continuing professional training for our veteran officers. But no, I don't have anything to do with the governor's office, and local policing is what our communities do. The state does highway patrol and is responsible for the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, but they don't do a lot of local policing. That's what our cities and townships and counties do on that local level. And therefore, we've got our mayor, we've got our city council people that are responsible for dealing with whatever budget cuts come our way from the federal government or the state government, and trying to make sure that we are supportive of our local police officers here and dealing with whatever cuts come our way.
The other question would be, how can we go about, if an individual wants to set a meeting up in a church, as far as policing with the young adults as well as adults that are driving today for different issues that may be stopped for something, their rights, what they can refuse to do as far as the individual being stopped? Is there programs out there or any type of program that can be initiated to educate the students that are driving today, that are of age, or as well as the parent? But then again, what is that right to where these children or the parents do not have to go through harassment of saying, I know my rights, but yet again, they're overpowered because they see the badge?
Right. Contact your community liaison officers. They do hundreds of presentations, and they do a variety of presentations. They can tell you how to landscape your yard to prevent crime, and they can tell you how you can react whenever a police officer pulls you over. They've got it all. They have a lot of training, and they have a lot of experience in public speaking and just problem solving. So contact your community liaison officer, and if that officer can't help you, they can point you in the right direction for a particular program, and they can line it up wherever the facility is willing to take us. So, as I said, our outreach is really unlimited. It's just based on the number of people that are available